are live. Hey, John, what's going on?
How's it going?
Good, man. So just for everybody out there in the audience, I am with John. I don't want to ruin
Macatangay. John is fine.
Macatangay, right?
Yeah, that works.
Awesome. What kind of name is that?
Well, my parents are from the Philippines, but I'm a big mutt, so.
Same as me. Like a German, Polish, Scotch. I actually found out I did the was it the 23andMe or whatever that thing is. Yeah. Found out I actually am a Melanesian, believe it or not. Melanesian. I didn't even know what it was. I checked it out and I looked them up. I'm like, of course, they're gorgeous people. Of course I got some of that in me. Anyway, background on who you are, what you have going on. I know you're a Delray local. You've been here forever. I believe you're in the insurance business, and then you decided to open up this concept because you were in California and you fell in love with it. Anyway, take the floor.
So yeah, my name's John. I'm owner operator of Hopportunities. The way I like to explain this, we're like a modern beer hall, and we had our grand opening back in February. Soft opening November, but essentially we are a bar. We're a self-serve beer and wine bar, mostly craft beer, local craft beer, who have obviously been affected tremendously by this virus and the closing. So I've been talking to John throughout the entire deal, just kind of giving him up to date of where we're at. I think I've been operating under John's credo and motto, or living your you have to adapt attitude throughout this whole deal. But I've been kind of, over the last couple of weeks, I've been kind of keeping tabs with him, letting him know where we're at as far as opening and what we could do to open outside of whatever county, city, governor order.
So let's, I guess, get into the news today because it's pretty fluid and it's happening pretty quickly. But I knew you were on the phone with Palm Beach County all morning today. And it was kind of frustrating, I guess, because you couldn't get a straight answer from anybody and they were kind of giving you the circle jerk, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. So essentially what's gone is yesterday, the state, actually before, let me backtrack that. Yesterday afternoon, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ryan Boylston, the mayor, and the rest of the commissioners, because they signed an executive order that will allow bars to operate at some level with a couple tweaks. We'll get into that in a sec. So, there is some light at the end of the tunnel for at least bars in the county, regardless of what the county decides. But the governor decided yesterday, there's been a lot of back and forth. I've been talking to John about it, on a time frame. Over the last couple of weeks, I've heard from the state that it was going to be weeks to months to days of when bars would be open. And then finally, I guess the governor pulled the trigger yesterday, amended his executive order, and is allowing bars to open up during stage 2. Now, obviously, since Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach are kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of Florida, we kind of operate differently. I've learned throughout this process that counties and municipalities can never be less strict in the state, but they can always be more strict. And that's kind of what we have going on right now. Dade nipped it in the butt, I think, yesterday. Within an hour of the governor's order, they said, no, bars are not opening up in Dade. Haven't heard anything about Broward yet. I know Palm Beach, I think 30 minutes ago, decided to release something saying bars are not allowed to open at 50% capacity in Palm Beach. I called this morning. I think I started with the Palm Beach emergency centers. They didn't even know that the governor passed an order, but I'm sure that's just whoever I was talking to on the phone. So I called the administrator. The administrator said, let me see how that affects you guys. They would get back to us. And then the mayor's office was just, I don't know, Palm Beach mayor's office kind of felt like annoyed that I even called them. So they kind of redirected me back to Palm Beach emergency, letting me know. I pressed them a little bit. They said, well, let me get with my team. I guess they're going to redirect the answers. But as of this minute, bars cannot open in the state of Florida, with one caveat.
Well, not state of Florida, Palm Beach County, right?
County, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward.
Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward. Yeah, I'm looking at the article right now, and it's, we were part of the county commission meeting where they basically broke up phase 2 into like 4 different parts. And I remember the bars, arcades, billiards halls, hookah, cigar, and other smoking bars and lounges will be allowed to reopen with reduced capacity in the final increment of their plan. So we still, according to what the county commission put into place, we've got like 3 more phases before we get to the phase that basically The whole rest of the state is green lighted right now. And to your point, absolutely, that was one of the takeaways I had. You know, I was hoping maybe the county would be more aggressive, so that, like you said, you can be less aggressive than the state, but you can't be more aggressive to the state. So the state basically gives you the baseline of what you're allowed to do. So yeah, no official date has been set on when bars in Palm Beach County will be allowed to reopen for the on-premises consumption of alcohol. Bars in Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties all have the green light to reopen on Monday. So, you know, Halsey Balshears did his job. And once again, it seems like the county is smacking it down, and we're going to pay the price for that.
Yeah, essentially, it's just it's tough because, like I said, I feel as though there's been a lot of us in the industry that have, like, immediately when this happened, spent thousands of dollars retrofitting bars to operate responsibly, and putting standard operating procedures in place. Like, I did this within the first 60 days. Here we are, going on 7 months later, you know, still waiting for a shot to operate responsibly, where there are other bad actors, will say, that aren't operating as responsibly, but are still able to make a living. But yeah, there is, like I said, there is some light in the tunnel, because of the city and what the city did yesterday.
So let me just interrupt you there for a second, if I may, because are you saying that the city can actually overrule what the county's doing?
No. So essentially what has happened was, bars and breweries, the state is allowed bars and breweries to operate as long as they have some sort of food functionality, a food license, and they're serving food. So even though they're a bar, but they're still kind of operating like a restaurant and a bar. And that happened sometime in July, where they amended the order, because at first it was 50. You got to be 50% food, right? Then they amended the order to say all you have to do is have a food license and serve food. So you saw a lot of Copper Point Brewery in Boynton. They purchased part of a food truck, have that food truck on site. They have a food license in their name. Boom, they can open and operate.
So you're saying they went in and partnered with a food truck? They didn't even buy a food truck. They partnered with a food truck, and that gave them, by grandfathering or by osmosis, basically by partnering up, that gave them a license that was attached to the brewery?
Yes. Essentially, since the brewery bought part of the food truck amended their food license to include the brewery's name on it, and therefore now the brewery has a food license.
That's interesting. Smart.
We're doing the same thing here. I think Hurricane, they're in the process. If they may have already gotten their food license, and I think the commission, like I said, they voted yesterday to approve their executive order to kind of let them operate. So, like I said, there is a way around it. People have been operating throughout all these states doing this whole food license deal. We're not the first city to do it, but you know, we're definitely on board. So that's a good thing.
And you've kind of navigated this for a while. There's these guys who are doing the food truck. Are they? I know we had talked about the expense, and it was considerable for you to get that. Are they incurring these same expenses?
No. So for us, it's a little bit different because, you know, we are looking long-term viability of our business at this point, because, you know, regardless of when or if we get to open, we have to operate differently now during COVID, you know? So for us, getting a food truck, and the other thing we wanted to do is we wanted to push people outside just to be safer. For us to do that here in the city, we have to change laws, and changing laws costs money. And that's what it comes down to. So other cities, no, it's not the case. Boynton doesn't have that restrictions. If I was a quarter of a mile north of George, just north of George Bush, I probably would not be having these issues. But because I'm in the central business district, operating with a food truck is a no-no, unless it's an event. And then outdoor use for bars is a no-no just in general in the city of Delray.
And I got to say, I've never understood that. You know, if the law's in place, it needs to be changed. You've got a great space. You've got a great outdoor patio area. When I saw your place and we went there with the chamber, I kept telling you, oh man, you're going to mark this thing off. You're going to put a cornhole out here. It's going to be awesome. And then you were like, yeah, well, the city's really not going to let me do it. And I think this is an example where the city could be proactive and they could be nimble You're not in the middle of a residential district. I know there's a rule basically that bars can't be outside.
Yeah, essentially, no outdoor use. I think,
How does Boston's get away with that?
they have a restaurant, they have a kitchen. So if they're zoned a standalone bar, there's no outdoor use in the city. No, I forget what the exact legal term is, but there's no outdoor use in the city. If you have a kitchen and you're a restaurant, then you're good to go. So yeah, believe it or not, that's just how it is. I think maybe it was back in the day when Delray was planning, in probably in the 80s and 90s. They didn't want to have that. They wanted to, if I had to guess, they wanted their downtown shaped a little bit differently. They didn't maybe want it like Himmershey at Fort Lauderdale or Clematis and West Palm, and maybe that's why that zoning's in there. That's what I'm just guessing. But things are different now, most bars, especially new bars and the younger generation, the whole concept of bars is changing from them to more of a laid back space as opposed to like a place to pack people in and get a little wild. So,
No, you're absolutely right. Those standards, those regulations are archaic.
Yeah.
And, I forget who it is who said, never let a good crisis go to waste. I think that's where we're at right now, because guys like you should be open. You're not doing anything belligerent. You're not doing anything that takes away from the charm of Atlantic or Delray Beach. Matter of fact, you're bringing more charm because you're moving into that new phase of offering craft beers from all over. You're working with locals. You're working with, small businessmen. You're exposing people to different small business craft breweries. You're offering a wholesome environment, with the food offerings, food trucks, and with your outdoor space. I've been inside your space, and, you can see the artwork behind you there. I would have no problem bringing my kid in there and, sit down while we're having a beer and exactly that. The idea of a bar has really changed from what it was in the 70s, where it was, a clandestine place where you kind of went to get out of the sun and smoke bars and, crawlies.
Well, and like I said, we're not really, our concept is German food, German beer hall. If you go to the beer halls in Germany, you're going to see a bunch of 20 to 30 somethings drinking beer. You're going to see people with laptops working. You're going to see families having food and drinks with their kids and strollers. And we've really fostered that environment. We were doing it really well. On the weekends, we'd have strollers coming through here. And I think, putting in, at first the outdoor space was definitely 100% selfish. We wanted to grow that business. We thought having an outdoor beer garden in Delray would be perfect. But at this point, the outdoor space is it's a must. You can't operate during COVID outside. And what we know about the virus and the aerosol, putting people outside is just going to be safer.
Yes.
That's 100% it, like I said, so far, I think step one with the city was definitely, was great. But we still have a lot of work to do. And we're hoping what we're doing on our end with the cities, we're actually rewriting the law that allows the commission to look at each bar on a case-by-case basis, as opposed to, hey, everyone yes, everyone no. It's going to be like, no, let's look at every bar at a case-by-case. I'm sorry, my dog is squeaking her toy over here. Taffy.
Okay. So I'll fill in the time there, because that's what I've been screaming from the mountaintops. And, Billy Himmelrich was just in LA recently. And what they've done to kind of pivot, they basically let all the restaurants basically figure out themselves. They're like, listen, you guys can go to the street, you can build out, you don't need permits. You just do what you need to do to get open and serve as many people as you can in a safe fashion. And I wish that the city would take some of that into consideration, because exactly that, case by case. As you walk around, I do it all the time. I'm looking at these restaurants on the Ave, off the Ave. I'm like, wow, they could mark that off like third and third. They've got a huge lot across the street that they use for parking. They could easily do an L right outside of their space and make that all outdoor seating. I even heard maybe that some people said they could do it, but they didn't want to do it. But yeah, case by case. Your place is screaming for an outdoor patio there. I mean, it really is. And that's how you keep people safe and you get your small businesses to open. So I'm totally on board with that. I really agree with what you're saying. And I know that it's amazing. You're actually trying to change the laws, which can't be cheap. You're actually trying to change the laws so you can get where you need to get open.
Well, listen, it could be cheap for the multi-million-dollar restaurant conglomerates. It's probably a drop in a bucket for them, but for a mom and pop, even a small business owner, I don't think it's really as conducive. I was kind of surprised, but yeah, it's what has to get done. In order for us to move forward, someone always has to kind of progress.
Yeah, you need that trailblazer. Like I said, I wish that the city would be a little more cooperative and a little more nimble in trying to help guys like you. You're a local guy. You raised your family here.
Yeah, no,
you saw this concept in California, if I remember correctly, when we met
yeah,
at the
so
chamber.
my story is like I used to work. I moved up actually north. I live in Hypoluxo right now. Drive down to Boca years ago, and always drive through Delray. I was originally from New York, like most people. Lived in Broward for a long time. Found Delray Beach, and I'm like, you know what? When I stop working for State Farm, I'm going to open up my own insurance agency in Delray. So I did that. Worked for 5-6 years, saving money. We're like, you know what? We're gonna move to Delray now. We're kind of at the place where my family's growing. I send my kids to Unity, right down the street, and you're like, it's time to move to Delray. And then, unfortunately, depending on who you talk to, fortunately or unfortunately, if you talk to my wife, I found this concept, and I'm like, you know what? Our move can wait a little bit. I think this would be a great business for Delray. I think this would be a great concept for Delray. I think the location that we found is conducive to locals who are kind of, sometimes during season, it's tough to get a place at a seat down on Atlantic Avenue. And if you want a place where you're not going to be crowded or overwhelmed by tourists, sometimes we having that. I think Matt from Craft Food Tour said it best. A lot of the charm that come from these little towns and cities have these little places off the beaten path, like Third and Third, like us, like the Sail Inn. It's just one of those things that just adds to the charm. And especially now that I'm going to be closer to 2 new hotels within an industry like craft beer, which is really seeing a renaissance, kind of like wine did in the 90s. I think it's just a great vibe for us in the city. So yeah, no, we want to be part of the city. And like I said, I wouldn't have sacrificed certain things to open up a new concept if I didn't think it would be great for, my family in the city.
No, you take that risk on, and I agree with you 100%. If you're in Delray Beach and you're not going to Sail Inn and Third and Third and Rose's Daughter and Brûlée, you're really missing out on the full Delray Beach experience. And those are all mom and pop restaurants. Those are all small business owners. Each one of them is a great story in and of itself. They are the heartbeat and the soul. Papa's Tapas, Caesar's Ribs, Windy City. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And, as a commercial broker, I've been reading a lot of articles with, Chipotle and Domino's have teamed up, and they basically have a team of people that go out into these communities, and they're looking for spaces that they basically got all this deep diving demographics and data that they can get because they are a large conglomerate. And they basically look into an area and go, wow, we should really put a Chipotle or a Domino's here. And then they put a circle on the map. And then they have their guys run out and talk to every small business restaurant that footprint matches what they want. And they go, hey, man, how you doing? Not so good, huh? Well, how about we go to the landlord? We get you out of your lease. You guys can walk away, and we'll come in and take this place over, and we'll turn it into a Chipotle and a Domino's. And I know nobody in Delray Beach wants to see that happen, but that's where we're at right now. There's armies of people, restaurant that are out there looking for other spaces. And I really think locally we need to get proactive to support people like you and to support the Sail Inn. And absolutely, we got to do it in a safe manner. We got to open up safely, but we need to get our middle class folks off the sidelines. We need to get them off of unemployment. We need to get everybody back to work again, man. That is the lifeblood of Delray, and it's the lifeblood of our country.
No, for sure. That's what we were built on. And, fact of the matter is, I feel as though bars in general just are getting a bad rap. We've peaked. We haven't been open since March, and cases rose and rose and rose through July and June without Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach having bars. So it's not that. People are going to do what they want to do, responsibly or irresponsibly. It's time for us to say, you know what, maybe we just let everyone open with certain operating procedures, and we regulate that way. We police it. I think that's the fair thing to do, is say, hey, let's put our funds and our time into policing it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are out of work that could probably use a job, and we could probably pay them just on fines alone. I know code enforcement's probably over leveraged, but there's ways we can operate safely, and ways we can get people working, and ways we can do this without having to just say, hey, you know what, we just don't like your industry, or your industry is an easy target, so therefore let's close you down. Because like I said, not all bars are meant to be packed. Not all bars are spring break bars, and I think that's the mental image people are getting is, we're going to like Cocktail, is one of my favorite movies, like, you go to Tom Cruise packed bar and on a Fridays. Exactly. And I feel like that's the mental image that's out there. But, fact of the matter is, I don't even have a bar. I own a bar, but there's no physical bar in my space. We're 100% self-serve. The data on the self-serve actually shows that we're actually possibly even safer as long as we regulate the amount of people that are pouring beer, because there's less transactions. There's no bartender touching a beer, going to a waiter, going to a person. This is from spout to beer. So a lot of the industry has self-serve, as almost a step safer than actual going to a legitimate, a bar with a bartender. But, it's one of those weird things where we had a great staff, and, we're down to 1.5 now. Myself and I have one other girl that comes in 4 times a week just to legit fill cans. We become.
What would you be staffing right now in a normal situation, getting ready to go in season like we are?
So it would have been like our first season. We had 8 or 9 people on payroll.
That's 7 people basically that are out of a job right now, or that are working somewhere else that you could have had, and you could have been supporting them, payroll, paying taxes on these folks.
Absolutely. And for us, we were profitable in the month of February. So our model was working. We're doing well. Our March was about to blow it through the roof. So I know you've been in the industry forever. My father-in-law, who I lean on for a lot of guidance, is in the industry forever. And he was just saying, hey, I've owned a bunch of restaurants and bars, and for you to be in the green so early is kind of a testament to what you're doing. So yeah, we just want to get a shot. Let's backtrack. The good thing about this is we've been able to shift our model so much that we didn't do any to-go sales. We're now selling cans, bottles, filling up beers from the taps. That's been good. We're going to keep that. Delivery, we're going to keep that. Online sales, we're going to keep that. And then our virtual events, our virtual tastings have been quite a success. So I think to a degree, as much as COVID sucked, it's pulled us out of our comfort zone and allowed us to add more offerings to what we were able to do. So
it's such a great point. Usually through recessions, that's when companies learn to run meaner and leaner and actually find avenues of commerce where maybe they weren't there before. So on that note, shameless plug time. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you. I love your virtual beer stuff. I haven't been able to do one yet. Just been too busy, but I've seen them. They look great. So everything you just talked about, how do people get a hold of you? How would they be able to get started on something like that?
So best bet is you can email us at info@findyourhoppyplace.com.
Love it.
Instagram and Facebook messaging. It's just the quickest way. We always have our cell phones, and we're a lot more proactive to responding to a message on Instagram or Facebook. We did just hit 4,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. So my plan is to do 4 giveaways. So we haven't, we've been open for 4 months legitimately, and we've got 4,000 followers. So we're going to do 4 giveaways next week, and we're partnering up with probably 4 different local businesses to give away some beer and some of their offerings. So if you're not following us on social media, do it, because we're going to be supporting some local businesses here, as well as you'll be able to get maybe a free meal or free events or free beer throughout next week. So that would be the best way. But if anyone has any questions, we've been doing those virtual beer tastings. We've actually kind of slimmed down our offerings to the public with the breweries, and we've been doing a lot of company beer tastings for company. I was just approached by a university to host a virtual beer tasting and trivia for their staff, since no one's in schools yet. So we can work with you if you need some virtual events. I always said we were an event-driven business that happens to serve really cool beer and provide a cool atmosphere. And now we've just taken that event-driven business virtual.
I love it, man. You know, the one thing, every restaurant I talk to, you guys have such a never say die spirit. You guys keep me positive. I think you keep the community positive. The fact that you've been able to pivot into different areas, you know, hey, and drive through, hey, pick up, hey, let's do virtual this. You guys just are not resting. You're an inspiration to everybody, I think, in the community. So the bottom line is Palm Beach County is not open. You know, basically you got to get that food license going, partner up with a food truck, I guess, or something along those lines. What would you recommend right now to the sail-ins out there and all these other guys that are out there?
Feel free. You can always reach out to me. If you have any questions, if anyone, you know, reach out to me via social media. I'll shoot you my phone number. We could chat. Essentially, if you're in a place that allows food trucks or, you know, pop-up food vendors, it's a pretty quick fix. If you have a friend that owns a food truck and they want to just change their name on their license and sell you part of their business for $1, it's a 2 to 3 day turnaround to do that. So you could be possibly open within a week. If you decide to do the route that I'm going, we're going to have a full-time food offering here once we get approved for our food license. We partnered up with one of the guys at Two Fat Cookies, and he's creating.
Kobe?
No, Kobe's too busy, man. Kobe's got too much fun to say right now. But we are doing a giveaway with Kobe next week. But we partnered up with Pete, and he started making pretzels and pretzel buns. We've actually partnered up with all the local breweries, or a bunch of local breweries. We've been getting spent grain from them, from their brews, and then using that spent grain to create the pretzels and the pretzel buns. We've been using their beers. Well, he's been using their beers to make whole grain mustard and beer cheese. So we're going to have a food offering. We're probably about another week or two away from getting that food license in here. And we'll have brats, dogs, and pretzels.
Well, you got to let us know, because that sounds absolutely fantastic. It sounds sustainable, which we all love. It's a great collaboration between young entrepreneurs that are, you know, you guys are the future of Delray Beach. You guys really are. And you're one of the reasons why I moved back here after 30 years, graduated high school in the 80s, came back in 2010. And your spirit and your entrepreneurial spirit, and not to mention pretzels with homemade mustard and beer. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, that's going to be great. So let us know. We want to help you guys promote that and get the word out there. It sounds absolutely amazing. Last words you want to say to anybody out there that has a business or customers, or just the floor is yours for the last minute.
John, what you've been doing for local businesses, I just want to say kudos and thanks for putting yourself out there and really just trying to keep people afloat and trying to give our city some hope. I think you're definitely a beacon for that here in the city. And just everyone keep moving. Don't stop moving. If you stagnate, you're gonna succumb to this virus, whether it be financially or your business is gonna hurt. But just my deal is don't stop moving and you'll be fine. You know, we'll all get through this.
Awesome, brother. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I've been meaning to do this for a while. It's great to get your story out there. I appreciate you, looking into what's going on. Unfortunately, we've got some bad news for the county.
Anyone who has any questions to see what we're doing, even from a business standpoint or beer standpoint, it's one of these weird things that people think that craft beer is a secret, or getting craft beer is a secret, or it's exclusive. It's not. It's meant to be consumed by everyone. The more the people that drink great local craft beer, the better it'll get. So if anyone has any questions, they want to open up their own craft beer bar, they need craft beer selections, or they just want to know how the hell do I get a food license, give me a call. It's real easy.
Thanks so much, John. Take care, man. Have a great weekend.
You too.